This is Tenitzu, and today we'll be getting into another remastered version of one of my older what ifs, that being what if Naruto was an Otsutsuki. So, if you want a part 2, that'll be 15 likes. But without further ado, let's just get straight into part 1. Now, unlike the original series, Minato will be the Otsutsuki part of Naruto's genes, whilst Kushina stays the same. For Minato's backstory, he was originally born on Earth with the mission to destroy the planet. But after his parents had to abort their mission with an emergency mission somewhere in the universe and completely forgot about their baby son, who was not alone stranded on Earth, the only thing he had was a fruit clutched in his hand. Minato was still the same boy as in the original in terms of personality, just that his skin was astoundingly white and his hair was a grayish blue, but he didn't have any horns, unlike his future son, and everything went similarly to normal, up until Obito's attack. Now, as Minato had immense power, he would destroy Obito with ease, but he felt something in the man he was fighting. This was no Madara. Suddenly, Minato blitzed toward the man and lifted his mask with such ease, but underneath this mask was something which would shock Minato greatly. The shinobi who used to be in his team, Obito Uchiha, was standing in front of him with an angry expression. But I thought you died, Minato said, taking a step backward. He had always carried tremendous guilt in his heart for what had happened to Obito, and so seeing Obito again made him so relieved that he completely forgot about the situation and ran to hug the boy. But what happened then was quite a surprise to Minato. A blade was struck right through the fourth's chest, right into the heart, as Obito jumped back. Too late, Sensei. Maybe you should have given the name White Flash some credit by coming to save me earlier. He spat on Minato, then Obito disappeared as he felt disgusted by the attempt Minato made and completely forgot about his greatest weapon, the Nine-Tails, who was then freed from Obito's control. Minato was bleeding out, as even an Otsutsuki couldn't recover a wound to the heart like that, but then he thought of his wife, his son, who had just been born. It would be unfair to let his son die by the Nine-Tails' hand, so he got up from the ground, blood spilling everywhere. I'll protect them, and teleported back to where his wife and son still were. The Ninetales was absolutely fuming and destroying everything, and suddenly stabbed Minato and Kushina right through their chest. As Minato knew his son would be able to handle it, even though he was still a baby, he sealed the full Ninetales inside of him, and a mystery chakra source, until finally succumbing to his wounds and dying. 4 years have passed since that incident. Naruto's life has been nothing but absolute torture. The boy was, of course, extremely powerful since birth, however, the boy never used it, as he had the control nor the urge to use it against the people who even beat him at times. But he just poured all the frustration from the hatred the villagers had for him because of the things sealed inside of him into his studies, making him an incredible ninja even at his age. However, that wasn't the only thing that made the villagers hate him. Naruto's appearance was unusual to say the least. He had slightly blue hair, normal skin, but horns growing out of his head, and not just that. He had this very familiar white eyes of the Hyuga clan, the Byakugan, but he wasn't a Hyuga. What was wrong with this boy? One day, a man walked up to Naruto and, out of nowhere, pulled out a kunai and put it to Naruto's neck. You! The man held himself back from saying what he wanted to, as that would be breaking the rules the third had set over telling Naruto what he was, but that didn't stop the man from using the kunai with even more force, eventually even drawing a tiny bit of blood as a tear escaped the young boy's eyes. But suddenly his eyes turned a blood red with a turmoil in each eyes, and the man shrieked back, You! No, 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 that's impossible. You monster, get away! He threw the kunai, but Naruto dodged it easily and threw it back, straight into the man's shoulder, then walked back to the library, with everyone staring at him. What the hell? No, that's just impossible. How could he have done that? The word spread through the village at an insane pace. The fox boy had awakened the Sharingan. No one had a clue as to how. The boy wasn't an Uchiha for all they knew. He had no Uchiha relatives that can account for the boy's heritage, and in general, they had never seen anyone like him. Not even his actual father looked too much like him, as Naruto had a normal skin tone and horns, but just confused the villagers even more. He just stole the eyes, or something? Is what the villagers thought at least. Deep in Naruto's mind, it was like some non-existent lock finally cracked the lock, which was keeping Naruto from all his powers, and suddenly the ground cracked as that lock cracked a little more, leaking some chakra, and Naruto suddenly felt a hell of a lot more powerful, and some of the chain strength his father had left him had mixed with his own chakra instantly, making him a way stronger fighter. But this power he had locked away wasn't even close to the power he would amass in his later years. But for now, that was of no concern, as we skip 8 years ahead to Naruto's Genin examinations. The boy was sitting there, not at all like the Naruto we knew, except for in personality, as his power was astronomical, and he was pretty much unrivaled in most things except for chakra control and ninjutsu usage. His taijutsu could also definitely use some work, as not only did he have the problem of the Nine Tails disturbing his chakra flow, and him not knowing which chakra was his, a third chakra was also added into this equation, which makes it even harder to use his chakra. But that was of no concern, as suddenly Naruto's dream of being the Hokage was interrupted by his name being shouted. Naruto Uzumaki, please enter the room immediately. He stood up and walked to the room, shaking like crazy. And as he entered the room, he almost instantly formed the hand signs and concentrated with everything he had. Crack! The seal blocking his hidden power had another crack, etched deeply into its non-existent metal, as the ground beneath him cracked all over, and the chakra he was using to try and perform the clone jutsu spiked. Next up him appeared one. No two, no three. What the? 10 clones stood around Naruto, as he had finally managed to perform the clone jutsu. I I did it! Naruto shouted in surprise and happiness as he jumped up in delight, and Iruka gave him a kind of weird smile. Congratulations, Naruto. Iruka was absolutely astounded. What the hell? He had never seen anything like this. But he still handed him his ninja headband, which the boy quickly put on before jumping out into the streets. The villagers were highly disgusted after realizing this boy was going to become one of their ninja, but they couldn't really do anything. So they just scoffed and walked away from the boy, like they always did. As Naruto walked through the streets, he felt many papers colliding with his head from strangers. One even threw his chopstick at him, but they didn't hurt him too much, so he just ignored it, until suddenly, as Naruto was a sensory ninja, which was boosted massively by his genetics, of course, he felt a massive ill intent back at the academy, so he hurried back, only to find Mizuki with a random student who had failed the entrance exam, and he overheard what Mizuki told him. How could he betray the village like that? Naruto thought to himself as he stared daggers at Mizuki, who was telling the young boy all about the scroll of sealing, which was absolutely banned. How could he? But then he thought, the scroll of sealing, huh? That scroll that contains so many cool jutsu could be mine! He smirked to himself. Perhaps some treason against the village wasn't too bad. He wasn't going to use it against the village, was he? It'll be fine, and that he thought, as he waited until night to steal the scroll with the other academy student. The other academy student wasn't too happy to see Naruto there, but quickly realized he could be a great help, so they kind of befriended each other as they stole the scroll of sealing, then started learning from it in a bee part of the forest. The first Genin learned the basic of the Shadow Clone Jutsu from the scroll, but Naruto learned some different things. Naruto learned not only the multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, but also the 8 trigram sealing Jutsu, and they gave each other a high five. Let's go, we did it! Until suddenly a massive shuriken was flung at them from a tree, and Mizuki laughed maniacally. The bread and the monster working together? That'll make my job not at all harder. Master Orochimaru will be so glad when I bring him the body of the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki. Naruto blocked the gigantic shuriken, then looked around at the academy student, who stared back at him, both with a confused look. And suddenly Iruka jumped out as well. Mizuki, how dare you tell him that? That's treason against the village. You aren't allowed to tell Naruto that. But then Iruka noticed Naruto was there, with now a terrified expression. He was the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki? No, that can't be possible. If he was, Iruka would have told him so. They were like brothers. But that thought was driven out of his head quickly as Mizuki told Naruto how Iruka hated him so much because of the beast still inside of him, but Naruto just scoffed. As if I believe you. Iruka's like a big brother to me, and I can sense the intention of your actions. How dare you lie to me? How dare you lie to him? Ah, I I'll kill you! Naruto was engulfed in a tiny bit of orange chakra as a tear fell from Iruka's eyes, but not it couldn't even hit the ground before Naruto flew at Mizuki, completely shattering the man's ribcage in a single punch. Then the Shadow Clone Jutsu, leaving the man near death. Iruka was completely shocked at this man's power, and saw the other Genin attempt to help out Naruto as well, so he let the other Genin pass and treated them both to ramen. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. For part 3, that'd be 15 likes, of course. But without further ado, this was Tenitzu, and I am out.